Stop. Don't just sit there and listen to this video. Go to your kitchen right now, grab a glass, and get ready to actually try this with me later. Because what I'm about to share won't change anything if you only hear it and do nothing. I've been working with men's health for over 40 years. I've seen strong men in their 60s and 70s walk into my office with the same quiet frustration. Not pain, not disease, but something harder to talk about. They'd tell me, "Docs, I still feel the desire, but my body doesn't respond anymore." And the symptoms were always similar: weak morning response, low energy, slower circulation, that heavy feeling in the legs, and yes, difficulty maintaining firmness when it matters most. But here's what shook me. A few years ago, I started noticing the same sign in myself. Subtle at first, less energy, slower response. And that moment, when you realize it's not just your patients anymore, it's you. That changes how you look at everything. So I did what most people do. I tried the usual advice: supplements, pills, miracle solutions you see online. Some worked for a while, most didn't, and the ones that did never addressed the real issue. Because the truth is, most men think this is a hormone problem. It's not at the core. It's a blood flow problem. More specifically, it's about nitric oxide and how your blood vessels respond as you age. And if that system isn't working, nothing else will. What surprised me the most was how simple the turning point was. Not a drug, not a complicated routine, but a combination I almost overlooked: beetroot, ginger, lemon, and a small amount of cocoa. Together, they don't just support circulation, they help your body respond again. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what else you need to add to that mix, because there are 7 specific foods that can take this from some improvement to something you can actually feel. And the third ingredient is the one I almost ignored at first, but in the end, it made the biggest difference for many of my patients. If you're curious why, I've explained it more clearly in the description below. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something quick. How old are you? I read every single comment, and it really helps me understand who I'm talking to. All right, let's begin with the first addition to your beet juice, because this one starts improving blood flow and how your body responds faster than you might expect. 1. Watermelon. Now here's something most men overlook because it feels too simple. Take 1 or 2 fresh slices of watermelon, blend it directly into your beet juice, and drink it either in the morning or about 30 minutes before dinner. That's it. No complicated steps, no expensive supplements. And yet, this one small addition can completely change how your body responds. It sounds basic, I know, but what's happening inside your body is actually very precise. Watermelon contains something called citrulline. Your body converts that into arginine and then into nitric oxide, the exact molecule responsible for opening your blood vessels. And here's the part many men over 60 don't realize. Your natural production of nitric oxide drops significantly with age, which is why circulation slows down and response becomes weaker. When you combine watermelon with beet juice, you're not just adding another ingredient. You're reinforcing the same pathway from 2 different angles. Beetroot brings in nitrates, while watermelon supports the citrulline pathway. Together, they create a stronger, more sustained signal for your blood vessels to relax and allow more blood to flow where it's needed. That's why some men report feeling a difference not just in energy, but in responsiveness. There have been small clinical observations showing that citrulline supplementation can improve erectile hardness scores by around 20 to 30% in men with mild issues. And beyond that, improved circulation also means better stamina, less fatigue, and even clearer thinking throughout the day. So this isn't just about one function. It's about how your entire body feels when blood flow improves. Here's how I recommend using it. Start with about 1 cup of fresh watermelon blended with your beet juice once a day. Stay consistent for at least 2 weeks. Don't expect a dramatic change overnight, but pay attention to subtle shifts: morning energy, warmth in your body, how quickly you respond. These changes build over time. But here's the catch. Even if you boost nitric oxide, if your blood vessels aren't able to fully open, the effect is limited. And that brings us to the next ingredient, which works deeper, right at the level of your blood vessels themselves. 2. Garlic. Now this next ingredient goes deeper, and it's one that both traditional medicine and modern science agree on. Take 1 small clove of raw garlic, crush it, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, then mix it into your beet and watermelon blend. That waiting step matters more than most people think. It activates a compound called allicin, which is where the real power comes from. For centuries, garlic has been used to support circulation and heart health, but today we understand why. Allicin helps relax the inner lining of your blood vessels, something we call the endothelium. As men age, especially after 60, this lining becomes stiff and less responsive. That means even if nitric oxide is present, your vessels don't fully open. This is one of the hidden reasons behind weaker blood flow and slower response. There are studies showing that garlic supplementation can reduce blood pressure by around 8 to 10%, which directly reflects improved vessel relaxation. Another clinical observation found that regular garlic intake improved endothelial function by up to 30% in older adults. And here's where it gets interesting. When you combine garlic with beetroot and watermelon, you're not just producing nitric oxide, you're actually improving your body's ability to use it. But there's also a risk factor many men overlook. If you have poor circulation, high blood pressure, or early signs of arterial stiffness, simply increasing nitric oxide isn't enough. You need your blood vessels to respond properly. That's exactly where garlic plays its role. It prepares the pathway so the increased blood flow can actually reach its destination. Now, if you're new to using raw garlic, start small. Begin with half a clove per day for the first 3 to 4 days to let your body adjust. Then gradually move up to 1 full clove daily. Always crush it and let it sit before consuming, and take it with your juice or after a meal to reduce stomach discomfort. And once you've opened the vessels and boosted nitric oxide, the next step becomes even more critical. Because without supporting your hormonal foundation, the system still won't perform at its full potential. 3. Pumpkin seeds. Now this is where things start to feel different, and often faster than you expect. Take 1 tablespoon of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds, grind them into a fine powder, and add it directly into your beet, watermelon, and garlic mix. Drink it immediately, preferably in the morning or about 45 minutes before any physical activity. It may not taste perfect at first, but this is where function matters more than flavor. The key compound here is arginine. This amino acid is directly used by your body to produce nitric oxide, but unlike the slower pathways we talked about earlier, arginine can act more quickly once absorbed. Think of it as giving your body a ready-to-use building block. Within a few hours, this can enhance blood vessel dilation and improve how efficiently blood is delivered throughout your body. There have been controlled trials showing that arginine supplementation improved blood flow markers by up to 30% within just a few hours of intake. Another study found that men taking arginine daily for several weeks reported noticeable improvements in circulation and physical endurance, especially during moderate activity. And this isn't just about one function. Better blood flow also means more oxygen delivery, which translates into higher energy and less fatigue. Now, some people say pumpkin seeds are hard to digest or don't taste great in a drink. That's fair. But if you feel a slight warmth in your body or even a mild increase in heart rate after taking it, that's not a problem. That's circulation being activated. Your body is responding. For beginners, start with half a tablespoon for the first 3 days, then increase to a full tablespoon daily. Always grind the seeds for better absorption and combine them with your juice rather than eating them whole if your goal is faster effect. Over time, this builds both immediate response and long-term vascular support. But even with nitric oxide boosted and blood flow improving, there's still one missing piece. Because your body doesn't just need flow, it needs activation. And the next ingredient works through an entirely different pathway to wake that system up. 4. Ginger. Now this one might sound a little intense at first, but stay with me. Take a thin slice of fresh ginger about the size of your thumb and blend it directly into your mixture. If you're sensitive, you can start with half that amount. Drink it slightly warm, not ice cold, because temperature actually affects how well your body absorbs its active compounds. The key compound in ginger is gingerol. Once inside your body, gingerol interacts with several pathways, including increasing nitric oxide activity and influencing prostaglandins, which help regulate blood vessel tone. But what makes ginger different is that it doesn't just increase large blood flow, it also improves microcirculation, the tiny capillaries that deliver blood to nerves and tissues. As men get older, these small vessels are often the first to decline. That's when symptoms show up: cold hands, tingling, numbness, slower healing, and reduced sensitivity. Ginger helps address this deeper layer. One clinical observation showed that ginger consumption increased peripheral circulation by over 20% within hours. Another study found improvements in vascular responsiveness of up to 25% after consistent intake. Here's how to use it safely and effectively. Start with a small slice for the first few days, then gradually increase to a full thumb-sized piece. Always use fresh ginger, not powdered, and avoid boiling it at high heat, because that can reduce its active compounds. Slightly warm liquids help absorption, but excessive heat can degrade the benefits. Now, a quick safety note. If you're on blood thinners or have a sensitive stomach, start slow and monitor how your body responds. A mild warming sensation, even slight sweating, is normal. That's your circulation waking up. But if you feel discomfort, reduce the amount. At this point, you've opened the vessels, boosted nitric oxide, and activated circulation down to the smallest levels. But there's still one silent factor that can undo all of this progress, and it's something most men experience every single day without realizing it. 5. Cinnamon. Now, this next step might sound unusual, especially if you've only ever used it in coffee or desserts. But adding half a teaspoon of cinnamon into your drink can change how your entire system responds. Not because it increases blood flow directly, but because it prevents something from quietly destroying it. The key compound here is cinnamaldehyde. Once absorbed, it helps improve insulin sensitivity and stabilizes blood sugar levels. Now here's where it gets deeper. When blood sugar spikes, it triggers a cascade: higher insulin, increased oxidative stress, and damage to the endothelium, the same inner lining of your blood vessels we talked about earlier. Over time, this reduces nitric oxide availability and stiffens both large arteries and tiny capillaries. There are clinical findings showing that cinnamon can reduce fasting blood sugar by around 10 to 15% and improve insulin sensitivity by up to 20% over several weeks. Another observation linked better glucose control with improved microcirculation, especially in older adults experiencing numbness or slow tissue recovery. So while you may not feel cinnamon working immediately like ginger, it's protecting both large blood flow and those small vessels that keep your system responsive. Here's how to use it correctly. Start with a quarter teaspoon for the first few days, then move up to half a teaspoon daily. Mix it into your drink while it's slightly warm, not hot, because excessive heat can weaken some of its active compounds. And try to take it consistently at the same time each day, ideally in the morning, to stabilize your metabolic rhythm. A quick safety note: if you're using cassia cinnamon, don't exceed 1 teaspoon per day due to its coumarin content, which can affect the liver in high amounts. If possible, choose Ceylon cinnamon for safer long-term use. Now at this stage, you've opened the vessels, activated circulation, and protected the system from internal damage. But there's still one missing layer, something that directly strengthens the vessel walls themselves, and that's where the next ingredient begins to take this to another level. 6. Dark chocolate. Now this next one might surprise you because it doesn't look like medicine at all. A small piece of dark chocolate, at least 70% cacao, added or taken alongside your drink, can actually strengthen your blood vessels from the inside. Not sugar-loaded chocolate, but real bitter cacao that most people avoid. The key compound here is flavanols, especially epicatechin. Once absorbed, these compounds stimulate an enzyme called ENOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, which directly increases nitric oxide production inside your blood vessels. But it doesn't stop there. Flavonols also reduce oxidative stress, which means less damage to the vessel walls and better signaling between your nerves and circulation system. There have been controlled trials showing that high flavonol cocoa can improve endothelial function by up to 30% within just a few weeks. Another study observed increased blood flow in both large arteries and microcirculation by around 10 to 20% after consistent intake. This is especially important for men over 60 because weakened microcirculation is often why you feel tingling, slower healing, or reduced sensitivity over time. Here's how to use it properly. Start with about 10 grams per day, roughly one small square, and let it melt slowly in your mouth instead of chewing quickly. This actually improves absorption through saliva interaction. You can take it alongside your drink or about 15 to 20 minutes after when your circulation is already activated. Avoid combining it with milk because that can interfere with flavonol absorption. If you're new to dark chocolate, begin with a smaller amount and gradually increase over a week. Some people may feel a slight stimulation or warmth. That's normal. But if you're sensitive to caffeine or have heart rhythm issues, monitor your intake and don't overdo it. At this point, your system is not just activated, so it's being repaired and strengthened. But there is still one final layer, the one that determines whether all of this lasts or slowly fades away again. 7. Olive oil. Now this is the one I tell my patients not to skip. If you had to choose just one habit to keep long-term, this would be it. Extra virgin olive oil is not just another ingredient. It's what helps everything you've done so far actually last. Without it, improvements can fade. With it, your system stays supported day after day. The unique compounds here are polyphenols, especially hydroxytyrosol. Think of your blood vessels like flexible tubes. Over time, they become stiff, inflamed, and less responsive. Olive oil works like a protective coating inside those tubes. It reduces inflammation, improves elasticity, and helps your body maintain nitric oxide levels longer instead of losing them quickly. There have been large-scale observations showing that regular olive oil intake is associated with up to a 30 to 40% reduction in cardiovascular risk. Another controlled trial found improvements in endothelial function of around 20% within weeks of daily use. Some comparisons have even suggested that dietary patterns rich in olive oil can support vascular health in ways similar to certain medications, especially when combined with other lifestyle changes. Now here's the correct way to use it, and this part matters. Take 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil every day, ideally in the morning or with your first meal. Do not heat it at high temperatures because heat can destroy many of the active compounds. You can drink it directly or add it to your mixture after blending, but make sure the liquid is not hot. Lukewarm or room temperature is best. If you're new to it, start with half a tablespoon for a few days, then move up to a full tablespoon. It's simple, affordable, and available almost anywhere. And more importantly, it's sustainable. This is not a quick fix, it's a daily habit that builds results over time. Because here's the truth I've learned after decades of practice: your body is not broken. It's just been missing the right signals, the right support, and the right consistency. No drugs, no complicated routines, just simple ingredients used the right way, backed by science and proven over time. If you found this helpful, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. In the next videos, I'll break down simple, science-backed ways to improve blood flow, energy, and performance after 60. Using everyday ingredients you already have at home. No complicated routines, no expensive treatments, just practical methods that actually work when you stay consistent. I'll also share common mistakes most men make without realizing it. Thank you for spending this time with me, and more importantly, for taking a step toward taking back control of your health.